All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How's everyone doing? Hopefully everyone's having a good night. Nick and I have been talking all day. We're recording a new brand video. And how long do you think we talked for today?
Many hours, probably 4 hours or something like that.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. So,
But we get to do some more talking now and hopefully a little bit of listening.
yeah.
Certainly a good opportunity to do some interactive show tonight. And we're excited to spend our evening with you all, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was thinking about as we were preparing for this that we have spent the entire day together, which is my definition of a perfect day.
Oh,
You're welcome. But we worked on our brand video all day today, which is pretty intense, right? Where there's hair and
lights
makeup and
and
lights
sound and lots of production staff
and lots of just lots of mistakes and bloopers, and you get a lot of the way through something and have to readjust and stuff. And then we went to the gym and worked out together, and then we split up for just a little bit because you had a meeting and I had some things at the office, and now we're back together. And I think very vulnerably, that level of engagement was what I always wanted in our marriage, and that was not what you wanted in our marriage in the beginning, many years. And if anything, you've increased the amount of time you want to spend with me. And as we've had children, I've decreased the amount of time I want to spend with you because I get a lot of that, touch from the children. And how these skills that we've worked on all these years have helped us so much. I think 8 years ago, we would not have been able to do a day like today. Absolutely. And then get on a Zoom call and talk about how much we love each other.
Absolutely.
We either would have not done the day, canceled the Zoom call, or had done it and it would have been super awkward and obvious that we were faking it all the way through.
Yep.
So that's what I was thinking about as we were getting ready tonight.
I think for me, I figured out that the more I make sure that I keep Elaine close in the things that I want to achieve, the more likely they are to occur. And the more engaged Elaine is in those goals, the more effortlessly they just come to be. And if I help Elaine get the things that she wants, then I end up getting the things that I want. So it took me a lot of years to figure that out, though.
Yeah.
For a long time, I thought if I just did my own thing, you could do your thing and we could all be happy. But that's just not how relationship works. So,
yep. Well, let's dive in. Should we get our screen share going?
Absolutely. I think we are already sharing this screen over here. Looks like we are. Yeah.
Very good. All right. So tonight we are doing investing with your spouse. If you did not have a chance to watch last month's community hour, I can't remember if it was it was actually May, because June we took off because we were traveling for conferences.
Did lots of speaking that month, just not with y'all.
Yeah. In May we did sort of general communication strategies, and really I think that it's not so much communication as just meeting people's needs and a meeting of the mind. So highly recommend the May community hour replay if you haven't had a chance to watch that one. It goes very nicely with this one. They're two sides of the same coin, so to speak.
Rachel, if you want to throw that in the comments, we'd appreciate it. I'll link to the first half of this, so to speak. We talked a lot about general communication last month or 2 months ago, and this month we're going to talk about polarity. So that's going to be a really exciting topic, the greatest source of energy you can tap into in your life. So
absolutely. Some of our announcements, blackswanfund3.com. You can head there and put your name on the wait list. Lots of folks are asking when it will go live. We have all the paperwork and everything ready to go. We just need to get a really good deal under contract. So we're working on lots of different opportunities, but want to make sure that whatever we get under contract is a great deal and that we're not just launching Fund 3 just for the sake of it. So I think we both had hoped it would have been launched by now, but deal flow is slow, interest rates are high. And so the moment we get an amazing asset under contract, you will know if you are on the Fund 3 waitlist.
That's right.
Our next Community Power Hour is August 7th at 7:30 p.m. Central. And then the most exciting time of the year for us is our real estate, real life event here in Rochester. That is September 15th, 16th, and 17th. Friday night, we come in for networking and cocktail hour, getting to know fellow investors. Saturday, we spend all day doing real estate education and deal deep dive analysis. Saturday night, we have a really amazing, what's called your Launch Your Legacy night, where we talk about goal setting and legacy planning and kind of the why of all of this passive real estate investing. For most people, it's not just to get a big number in the bank account, it's to live a big life. And so we spend really reflective time Saturday night looking at that. And then on Sunday, we get in a bus and drive all around to properties, and people love that. It's like an exhausting day. It's like going to an amusement park or something. But you get to see pre-renovation, mid-renovation, post-renovation projects we've owned for many, many years. And people really describe that that's really when real estate investing in general, like really clicks for them, but then also our business model and how our value add plan works. So we have a special discount for tonight with the discount Power Hour. You can get $250 off of your ticket. I'm sure Rachel will put into chat the landing page to order your tickets. We'd love to see you. Last year it was really amazing. This is the Friday night cocktail hour that we
It was
had.
an enchanting evening.
It really
I
was,
remember
yeah.
the sun setting on the terrace and just getting a chance to talk. So we've sold houses to multiple people that we saw there. One person we met there, we hired and joined our team. Just tons of amazing connections, and it was just such a lovely evening on that terrace.
Yeah, so we'd love to have you at our second annual real estate real life event this September. Right, we probably don't need much of our disclaimer
No,
for
I
tonight because
think
we're
we're-
talking about communication, but just in general, we don't offer investment advice. Talk to your advisors, your attorneys, your accountants, those sorts of folks before making any investment decision.
I don't recommend talking to your accountant about polarity advice. That's probably from a stereotypical perspective anyway.
You should talk to them about investment advice though.
That's true. Yeah.
Want to do our introduction real quick?
Sure. So if you've never been to one of our power hours before, never heard us before, my name is Nick Stoggerberg. This is my wife, Elaine Stoggerberg. We are the owners and operators of Black Swan Real Estate. We're a vertically integrated real estate investment private equity firm. Got about 300 million in assets under management. We've raised about 60 million in capital. We've got a real estate sales team. So we had about 75 million in real estate sales in 2022. We're in the top 1/3 of 1% of all Keller Williams agents, which makes us eligible for Gary Keller's personal mastermind, which is considered to be kind of like the most elite real estate mastermind on earth. So that's pretty cool.
I just had one on Friday. It was a virtual one. And literally like every 30 seconds, I was like texting Nick, he just said this. He just said this. It was so good. I'm going to summarize a lot of it in a weekly email out to you guys, because for whatever reason, this time he was really talking about investing. I don't know if there was something going on in his life or just because the market is down for real estate agents. So he's talking about other ways for real estate agents to create wealth, but it was a really fascinating mastermind this most recent time
Gary's
around.
pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And we do a little bit of ground up construction. We've got a $40 million ground up construction project in progress right now. I just visited it here on my way back from there to our talk tonight. It is really cool. There's probably 100 people working on that thing today. And, every day right now, we've got 6 buildings going up concurrently. It's pretty cool to watch. So that's just a little bit about us and why we know a little bit about what we're talking about. I have a bachelor's degree in ministry. My wife trained at Mayo Clinic in psychiatry. We're going to be talking a lot about psychological, spiritual kind of things tonight, specifically your relationship with your significant other. So we have a little bit of domain expertise in those areas as well. I'd like to think we make a pretty good couple.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
So we've been together for 13 years. We have 4 children. You can see our daughter, Selah, our oldest son, Shepherd, our middle son, Abram, are in that picture. And then our youngest son, Abram, was still in my belly in that picture. That's why Selah's leaning against my belly. So, we joke, we like to do everything at scale. So lots of stuff going on in the business, lots of stuff going on in the house, and certainly a lot of opportunities for us to practice these skills.
That's right.
Because when there's so much stuff going on, and as I talked about in the first opening minutes of our time together, we spend a lot of time together because we're running our business together, we're raising our children together. So we're together, probably double, triple, maybe even quadruple what, like a typical married couple, or like when we were working at separate jobs outside of the home. So lots of opportunity for us to practice these skills, and hopefully we can share them tonight.
Absolutely. We're talking to you about this tonight because I would say just about the most common question we get when we're doing one-on-one investor calls is something along the lines of, hey, I'm really excited to invest. How do I get my spouse on board? How do I get them to go along with this investment journey that I want to embark upon? And we're going to talk a lot about why this is such a uniquely critical question for someone who's strong masculine or feminine energy to be able to answer, because it's just no fun to go on a journey like this alone. It just isn't. And in fact, if you can learn to dance with your partner to meet their needs and make them so excited to meet your needs that of course they're going to want to go on this journey with you, man, the journey is so much more fun, because real estate investment, it has its ups and downs. It's not a get rich quick system. It's a get rich for sure system. But as Gary Keller would say, it's like a yo-yo on an escalator. It goes up and down as it tends to go up over time. So having your partner on board is unbelievably critical as you go through those ups and downs in real estate investing. And especially when you're first getting started out, it's really scary. It's going to sound weird, but we're working on half a dozen different deals right now, some of them as large as 40, $50 million. And I would say it's, at least for me, it's far less stressful to work on one of those deals than it was to work on like our first or our second or third single family home purchase.
Absolutely.
So those first few steps are the scariest in any journey, but particularly I think with real estate investment. So we're gonna help equip you with a few skills tonight that can help you along in that journey. And in conjunction with that, just a little public service announcement. We're gonna give you some superpowers tonight, a lens through which to see the world that could potentially equip you to judge your partner. We're going to help you understand what their needs are. And it can be really easy to say, well, they just seem to need praise all the time. And so if I praise them, then maybe I can manipulate them into doing something. Or aren't they so petty that they need that? We are uniquely empowered to hurt the people that we love the most. That's just how love works. And I'm going to tell you that none of these things will work unless you are your authentic self, unless you stay in curiosity and out of judgment. If you have judgment in your heart, like there's no way you can reach someone, no way you can influence someone. So you really need to set judgment aside before you embark on these journeys and use any of these tools. You cannot influence someone while you are judging them.
I think, the other thing that I think about when I think of this phrase is setting aside judgment about oneself. So I find that people will very often have kind of a dejected feeling of, they're very excited about real estate investing and their spouse just maybe isn't as excited. Like, it's not even that they have outright dismissed it. Maybe, they just haven't learned as much about it. Like right now, I'm really into credit card points and travel hacking, and Nick just doesn't know much about it. So you can see that he laughs and humors me and he knows that it brings me joy, but it's not something he would do on his own time. So if I said let's sit down and learn about credit card points, you just wouldn't, you don't have that knowledge to understand why it's so important quite yet, but that doesn't mean you're rejecting it. It's
quite the opposite, because we're in a level 3 relationship.
Are you reading about it? Are you talking to your friends?
No, but that would be good if I did that. So I was working on getting a proposal shot down by a local city government this evening before the power hour, and telling Elaine how that was not as successful as I would have hoped. And I asked her kind of what she's been up to, and she says, working on my points thing, planning a vacation. And I said, plan as much vacation as you want. I like things that make you happy.
Oh, that's sweet.
So that's level 3 relationship. When you acknowledge that your partner's needs are your needs. I'm not into this points thing, but I am into passion. I love things that make people passionate. I really love things that make my spouse passionate. If I can just lean into those things, I think I'm going to have a really rich life. It doesn't matter what they are. And if I can get some free vacations on points, well,
I'm working on it.
And it makes my spouse happy. That's great.
So back to this. So I find that people judge themselves. They'll say I must not be smart enough, or I must not know how to present it to them, or they even start to take further judgments of themselves of well, maybe real estate investing isn't the right thing to do, or whatever that thing is, instead of asking themselves, how can I stay out of judgment of myself and know that I likely have a good idea? If I'm excited about it, I've thought it through, it's probably a good idea. I'd like to explore it more with my spouse and come at it from a place of curiosity and excitement and communication. And I find that the judging can often be very self-inflicted, and it just sort of shuts down the communication. And so then the other partner doesn't even know that the first partner is interested in real estate in the first place, because maybe they brought it up 2 or 3 times, didn't get a lot of interest, and then there's just this feeling of dejection. So suspend judgment of others, but also suspend judgment of yourself, and just stay in curiosity, stay open to communication, open to serving and learning about and meeting each other's needs. And, we say it over and over and over, but this is the thing that people want to talk about the most. Yeah. So, they'll call and they'll ask us all about our private equity fund and how to do calculations and all this stuff. And then the number one thing they say is, how do I make this work in my marriage? Or I'm very excited about my partners. And we haven't ever found a correlation of it's always the woman that's interested, or it's always the man. It's probably 50-50, but it does seem like it's a very high number of couples where one partner is much more excited about the other, either because of excitement or risk tolerance or time or ability to pay attention to it, those sorts of things.
let's get to know y'all. So this is going to be a an interactive kind of exercise here. As much as you want it to be, I understand it's hard to be vulnerable in kind of a public venue, so it's up to you. But I can tell you that the more you give, the more you'll get. So if you want to raise your virtual hand or throw it into chat here, who here is single? Who are our single people with us tonight? So if everyone's single, that's going to help us kind of dial in our talking points a little bit
If
this
you're
evening.
single and you're looking for someone interested in real estate investing, probably gonna find them here.
That's a good point. Can we have a dating show like Black Swan speed dating?
You all can direct message each other. No one else
Lois,
sees
we've got a
it.
big smile on her face.
Saying,
I think
saying.
she's signing up here.
Love it. Lois is single. Larry's married, father of 5. Oh, we're hoping for 5 or 6, or who knows, at least 5. Jenny's married with her partner, very interested. Yep.
Very good.
Awesome.
Who here is in a relationship maybe?
I know lots of folks are
Who here has kiddos? Yep.
here with their spouses, or they've said they're gonna watch it and then watch the replay together.
Yep. That's a good strategy, by the way. If you find value here, you can send the replay to your spouse, maybe watch it with them. Married with 2 kids, watching now with my spouse. I'm more interested in real estate than he is. Awesome. Tell your husband that we said hi. Lots of good stuff there. And for those of you who are in a relationship who feels like their partner is as excited about real estate investment as ever, or maybe doesn't feel like their partner is as excited as they are. Again, we're just trying to get a beat on the room here. Love everyone sharing here in chat.
This is super helpful, kind
to dial
of helps
in.
us to sort of tailor what we might talk about.
So I see lots of people who are married, lots of people who have kiddos, lots of people who may be thinking about legacy. I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess.
Could we get in the chat like equal if you feel like you and your partner generally have the same level of interest in real estate investing, or just unequal? You don't have to say if you're the one that's more interested or you're the one that's less interested, but just equal or unequal. That would give us some sense. Rachel said unequal, but she does have an unfair advantage that she hangs around real estate investors all day, every day. So yes. We'll get Mike on board too.
That's right.
Equal, unequal, unequal.
Let's do a double date with Rachel and Mike.
Unequal. Okay, so we've got a few equals, and then
definitely more unequals.
I would say maybe 70% unequal, and that's definitely what we see in talks that we have.
And who here would like it if their relationship were stronger, or if you're single, if you were in a relationship?
Kind of a loaded question. I mean, you're kind of begging everyone to say
I'm
yeah.
giving everyone the opportunity to share now. So
Neil, good to see you.
Yeah.
I chatted with Neil and his wife on the phone.
Apparently we got his wife to buy into the RE journey. Well, congratulations,
Love
Neil.
it.
I'm glad we could help with that.
Love it.
Absolutely. And then the ultimate gimme there, who here wants to have amazing sex? So that's something that I think a lot of people they have a certain amount of quiet desperation about. And it's not something we need to spend a lot of time dwelling upon, but I think it's something that most humans would like to have. And it is an inevitable downstream consequence of having polarity in a relationship. So I'll say this is a really powerful statement. An intimate relationship, a marriage, whatever it is, it doesn't end due to lack of love. It ends due to lack of polarity. And if your intimate life is not as exciting as you'd like it to be, it's not because you don't love your spouse or your spouse doesn't love you. It's because you don't have enough polarity. It's a completely different concept than love. We talked a lot about kind of communication techniques in our talk 2 months ago with y'all, but we're going to talk a lot about polarity tonight. And polarity is what creates that spark. It creates that juice in your relationship. And ultimately, this is something that's going to help you propel yourself forward in your real estate investment journey as well.
Absolutely.
It's an incredibly powerful thing to tap into.
So the power of polarity, a lot of what we're talking about, we learned from Tony Robbins at Date with Destiny and many of his other seminars, really, transformed our marriage, transformed our relationship. Going back to that idea of you cannot influence someone while you're judging them. This is a topic that I think needs like a big asterisk of set aside any preconceived ideas you have and just kind of hear us out of these ideas. Things around gender, all of sexual orientation, all of those things. They're such like hot topics in our culture right now. And we're going to use words like masculine and feminine, man, woman, male, female. And there's a bunch of kind of caveats that go with that. So a big one is people's internal energy, their either masculine or feminine energy, does not always flow with their biological sex. And that's totally okay. There's plenty of biological males who are very naturally feminine and they feel very comfortable with that. That's very different than a biological male who feels very masculine, but is behaving with feminine behaviors for various reasons that we'll talk about. Same thing with a biological female can have very masculine energy. And if she feels very comfortable with that, that's great. Most people do tend to find that their energy flows with their biological sex, but not always. And this concept very much applies to both heterosexual and homosexual relationships. So even in a homosexual relationship, people tend to find that one partner has a more masculine energy and one partner has a more feminine energy. And that's what creates that polarity, that attraction to each other, that difference that opposites attract. Even if their biological sex is the same, they have opposite energies, and that's what creates that sexual attraction. And then there's just kind of a big thing. I think, we talk about it later, but I want to address it right up front because I find that when we teach this topic, particularly to women, there's a feeling of, well, I don't want to be feminine, or feminine is weak, or I've worked so hard to get these things in life, like status at work, equal pay, equal rights, all of these things. If I lean into my feminine energy, I might lose those things. And I think none of that has to be true. I think that when we understand feminine energy, we understand how powerful it is and that it's a tool that we can use, and that men can use feminine energy a great deal as well. And we'll talk about all the different ways that can happen. But those are just some big 3 asterisks that I find when someone, if we don't kind of caveat those things, then there can be all sorts of kind of feelings or baggage or things from childhood, religions, relationships, all sorts of things that people bring to the discussion of polarity that pollutes their thinking about it. So I would just encourage you to listen to it and see what resonates with you, see what makes sense as you're going through it. Like if you just grab even just a little scratch piece of paper and like make little tally marks for the different characteristics that we go through, which one do you feel like you identify more with the masculine energy and more with the feminine energy? And you may find that you correlate with your biological sex. You may find that you are opposite of your biological sex. And either way, at the end, we'll ask you, does that feel good to you? Does that feel like you're living in kind of your natural energy? Did I kind of cover everything there? Because it's such a hot topic, right? Really? There's so much history that people bring to it.
I think that this is actually a really simple concept that unfortunately in modern Western culture has become incredibly convoluted.
Yes.
We all have masculine and feminine energy. It's no different than any other aspect of our being, and that does not define me. And that can change. I might have a game face on when I'm really strong masculine energy, and then other times when I'm at home, maybe I'm stronger feminine energy. That's just kind of what flows for me in that state. And if I'm dominant masculine or feminine energy in different circumstances, that does not define me. But knowing that about myself and knowing that about my partner and the people around me, that helps me communicate with those people so much more. And trying to speak to modern gender identity, understanding that we all have masculine and feminine energy within us, and that you have to have polarity in order to have attraction, in order to have intimacy, I think kind of helps everyone understand like all that ambiguity. Like it doesn't matter what your gender is or what pronouns you use to define it. It's all the same spectrum of masculine and feminine energy. And there's a time and a place for both of them. And for most people, that's going to align with their gender that they were born with most of the time. But for no one is that the case all of the time, right? We all have that. And if you look at like a rock star, just as an example, like imagine a musician, a male musician in a music video. This is a person who's probably exuding all sorts of masculine energy. Women want to be with this man and are drawn to this man. But at the same time, this dude is kind of glistening. He's probably got some guy liner on. He's probably pedicured and manicured and has some aroma game going on and is in a finely tailored costume and radiates feminine power at the same time. True power lies in androgyny. It's being able to tap into both of those energies at the appropriate time. So, I think it's just in our modern kind of Western context that this thing gets convoluted. Like it's very simple. We both have these forces within us, and learning to master those forces and to know ourselves and stay out of judgment of ourselves is when we're going to be really happy and unbelievably powerful.
All right. I think we covered our asterisks very well there.
Many asterisks.
All right. So let's talk about some various characteristics. And I'd be curious, just if you're able to, if it's fun for you in the chat, just as we're describing them, just like pop in, like which one do you identify more with? So the first thing we're going to talk about is awareness versus focus. So feminine energy tends to have a more holistic focus, kind of looking at everything that's going on in the room, having an understanding of this conversation's going on over here, but this person's doing this over here, and I'm waiting to hear back from this other person on this thing, and 3 weeks from now, this thing needs to happen. Masculine energy, on the other hand, is kind of the complete opposite of that, tends to have a laser focus. I love this meme, boss demanded laser focus, chased red dot for 40 hours. So masculine energy tends to be focused on one thing at a time, doesn't know that there's a conversation going on over here, doesn't care that something's happening 2 weeks from now, only cares about the task at hand, and often needs to be directed with its energy. So when there's focus, that can be really good if it's focused toward the outcome. But if it's focus that is not toward the outcome, masculine energy can just kind of run away with that, because they tend to be very kind of get on that train and then stay on that train. I think I would say for us, people are saying holistic, very good. I think for us, it's hard for me to remember before we had children, but I know now that we have children, like here's a perfect example. We live in a pretty big home, and we have a door to the front yard and a door to the garage. And on Sunday morning, Nick wakes up and opens all the doors, because we do live in a nice climate where the sun, it's just beautiful. It's like 70 degrees. It snows much of the year. So you want that nice breeze coming in. We have 4 young children, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So I come out, I get my cup of coffee, and I just say to Nick, with these doors open, the geographical area that the children can cover is exponentially larger. I can't function like this. We have to close the doors, because if the children have access to our yard as well, the level of awareness that I have to have becomes overwhelming for, a casual Sunday morning. Whereas Nick's just like, well, I've seen them in the last hour. I'm sure they're fine. And I'm like, no. They're 1 and 3. The 5-year-old, the 7-year-old, they'll make it. So that's like a perfect example of how, and that when we had younger children, or we have younger children now, but when we had a few children and all of our children were younger, that was a big sticking point for us, because I would get very overwhelmed and sort of surveilling and watching the children, and keeping an eye on where they're going and what they're doing, and is there something in their mouth, and what are all the dangers. And I don't think you understood how challenging that was for me. And then when we found out these concepts, it was like a light bulb went off for you, that's why it took so much of my brain power.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's important to note that masculine energy, it's really good at accomplishing the mission. It's really good at breaking through, and no matter what, like I got shot down by city council tonight. Who cares? I got shot down by planning and zoning tonight. I'm going to go talk to city council tomorrow at city council meeting. That's pure masculine energy right there, of just like, we're going to make it happen no matter what. Masculine energy is not so great about picking out the destination. You might chase that red dot for 40 hours. You might miss the great white shark behind you when you're so focused on your mission. And masculine energy is not very good at fulfillment. It might get to that destination really effectively and then figure out it's been going in the wrong direction this whole time. And in all these things, you might see masculine and feminine energy as being kind of opposed to one another, orthogonal or opposite of one another, but really they're perfectly complementary to one another. So when you're in a relationship with a significant other and you have complementary polarity, it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship. It can easily feel like you're opposites, but opposites attract and opposites complement one another in a very beautiful way.
I know, like on those Sunday morning examples, I know that if I just shut the door and then I'm like, Nick, I want these 4 things for breakfast, there can be pandemonium, all sorts of stuff. Kids falling down the stairs, I'm changing poopy diapers, and you were just focused on dinner, and 30 minutes later, or on breakfast, and 30 minutes later, it's like you resurface. And I've been to like Mars and back, but I know I have breakfast.
That's right.
So I know I can just like lean into like asking if you'll take care of a task, and I can focus on all the chaos.
And this is what awareness of polarity will get you, right? When you know the polarity of the person you're dealing with, whether that be a fellow staff member at your place of work, or your significant other, like, I am not the person to ask to do a holistic awareness task. That's not something that I'm naturally going to be very gifted at. But if there's a specific mission you want accomplished, I'm the person to set to it.
Absolutely. All right, let's keep going. The journey and the destination. So feminine energy tends to enjoy the journey. That goes very much with, that holistic awareness of things, wanting to walk slowly, look at things, taste foods, think about things, reflect on things. And masculine energy is obsessed with the destination. I think this kind of manifests itself in, not so much anymore because there's GPS, but in the 80s and 90s, like, the joke that men wouldn't ask for directions. They're just kind of focused on getting there. And, the woman in the car, like, has some sense of like, we've passed that gas station 3 times now, because they're more aware of the journey. So feminine energy enjoys the journey, masculine energy obsessed with the destination. What do you guys think for yourselves? You put that into chat there for us. And as I mentioned before, I think it's kind of helpful to, keep tally marks for yourself of sort of where you fall.
I'm loving Jamie Pfister's shares here. This is a beautiful, insightful journey for a lot of people, I hope. So this saying here, peace is the best journey, happiness is the best destination. This is pure gibberish to masculine energy. So if you were to speak those words to a person who's dominant masculine energy, that just makes no sense at all. And again, it's all about knowing your audience or your spouse and making sure that you're meeting their needs. So feminine energy loves to gather, and masculine energy loves to leave or loves to empty. And I love this little house hunters meme. I'm sure you've seen ones like these before. Husband's a freelance hamster trainer. Wife is a harmonica tuner part-time. Their budget's $950K. Have you ever noticed in those house hunter episodes who drives the home buying process? It's almost always the dominant feminine energy partner, because feminine energy likes to gather. And as a real estate agent, as a top 1/3 of 1% real estate agent. Oh, we just got top 1% in the state too. That was a pretty neat
thing that
we
state of
got.
Minnesota.
I don't know why I brought that up just now. Masculine energy really thrives on recognition, by the way. That's why I brought that up. So the masculine energy partner is almost always the one that drives the listing process, drives the sell process. So feminine energy would abhor selling the place where your children grew up and there's little tick marks of them getting taller on the wall, that sort of thing. But masculine energy is happy to get rid of that home and move on to whatever the next great journey is.
Next destination.
It frees masculine energy to get rid of things. And as a successful real estate agent, when you sit down and talk to a prospective client, you have to figure out very quickly who is the feminine energy partner in this relationship if you're working with someone on the buy side, and who's the person who's masculine energy if you're working on the sell side. And if you have the wrong polarity person on board, so let's say you have the masculine energy person on board on the buy side, you don't have a deal. You might show them houses, they might get pre-approved, but they ain't buying a house. That's just not how it works. So I hope you can see how understanding polarity, understanding masculine and feminine energy, it doesn't just help you in your intimate relationship. This helps you with every relationship. It's a powerful lens through which you can see the world. We think really critically about what tasks we assign to what staff member, of like, this person is just going to love connecting and gathering with all these other people. And so they do phenomenal with this particular task, like reaching out to people to come to our event here in September. I know this person is a more masculine energy person. They're going to be terrible at this. They might reach out to one person, get laser focused on that person, and just lose track of the greater picture because they're so focused on that particular objective. So very important to know masculine energy leaves and feminine energy gathers.
This next one here about solving problems and the scope and size through which problems are solved is the one that I find causes the most problems in general masculine feminine communication, not just in an intimate relationship with people like your siblings, maybe your parents, people you work with, because masculine and feminine energy tends to solve problems in 2 very different ways. And the other things are more, targeted to specific things in life, but problem solving is something we're all doing all day, every day. And so I find that this is the concept that makes people feel like the opposite energy is crazy, or they get told from the opposite energy, you're crazy. So feminine energy tends to solve problems by making them bigger. This is where like very stereotypical, hateful things about feminine energy, like women are hysterical, women are crazy, that's where this comes from. And I don't think it needs not be to be that way. Again, setting aside judgment, women tend, or feminine energy tends to make problems bigger by asking, like, what's the pattern? Who else has experienced this? When did I see this before? What are all the pieces of data that I could consider? Very minute pieces of data, like, well, when that person said this, they were looking that way, so maybe they didn't actually mean what they say. And we'll talk about a little bit later about a Meadow report, but perhaps the evolutionary reason why this came to be is because women were surveilling a large amount of area and with holistic awareness, looking at children, monitoring the homestead, looking for foods, doing hunting or doing gathering. Men were doing hunting. And so they needed to solve problems by having a holistic, big awareness of what was going on, of, you know, this thing is happening over here, but when it happens at this time with this certain cloud pattern, then that means this one thing. Masculine energy, on the other hand, solves problems by making it smaller. And this is where, you know, stereotypes that are somewhat hateful about masculine energy can come around, of like, he doesn't care, or he's not smart enough to solve this, or he's not emotionally attuned enough to solve this. You kind of see the gender sort of make themselves out to be crazy, when really it's just a different way of solving the same problem. So masculine energy tends to solve problems by making it smaller. Okay, well, what'd she say? Okay, sounds great. That must have been what she meant. Or if it's a red berry on a bush, it must be a raspberry. I guess it's okay to eat. Or if I hear rustling over there, I need to go over there to, you know, slay that dragon. And the two polarities struggle with each other. This is another one that when we really figured this out,
it's huge, absolutely huge.
That I want to talk through problems and examine every single possible angle, and then do it again, and then ask you what you think about all those angles. And at times now I'll say, like, I just want to talk about this problem and how big it feels to me. And then at other times you'll say, you know, something like, you know, here's how I think we should solve this problem. I know that might not feel right to you because it's making the problem smaller, but can we do that with this one? And we save so much communication, whereas this used to be very challenging for us.
But it takes steps to get there, right? That's an evolved conversation you just witnessed.
Yes.
If you rewind the clock like 5 years, Elaine might be making a problem bigger. And then I start pointing out all the logical, analytical reasons why that's crazy, why, you know, it's not such a big deal, why we can minimize and ultimately ignore this problem altogether. And what I'm doing is I'm fighting her problem solving algorithm. I'm not actually solving the problem. I'm going to say that again. I'm fighting her problem solving algorithm. I'm not solving the problem. Can we all agree that making problems bigger and making problems smaller are both effective problem solving algorithms? There are some problems that if you ignore them, they will go away, and you'll go crazy if you try to, you know, focus on every single little problem. There are other problems where if you don't get on them right away, you're going to have a much bigger problem, and you need to solve those problems early. And
health is a big one, and that's why women live longer, and that's why married men live longer.
Oh, my leg doesn't work like it used to. Maybe it'll start working here in the next couple of years.
Yes. Yeah. And meanwhile, you know, feminine energy is like, well, when did that start and what's happening? And I don't think you sprained that knee. That sounds to me like some sort of infection, or, you know, or something. So that's a big one where I think this shows up.
Now, let me ask you this question. So this is an interactive thing. Let's just check in here. So let's say that we need to process applications in our property management company. I want to see if you're understanding this material. And we are concerned about thoroughly evaluating those applications and make sure we're not missing problems on the applications. Would we want to task someone on our team who's dominant masculine energy or dominant feminine energy with that task of reviewing applications that are submitted to our property management company? Go ahead and throw your answer in chat there. See if you're picking up these concepts, how powerful these concepts are.
Oh, we're split 50-50 so far. We have 1 vote for feminine, 1 for masculine, 2 for feminine now. A couple more feminine.
Jenny, why do you say masculine? Jamie or others, why do you say feminine? Give you a few seconds to put into chat there. So from my perspective, this is something that you'd probably want to assign to a dominant feminine energy individual. You notice something odd on an application and you think, well, what's going on here? I need to dig into this more. That's an instinct that feminine power you don't have to train it. It just has it. And masculine energy, you can never train it. Masculine energy says, well, credit score is good, criminal background's good. There's this one weird issue.
They haven't listed a rental housing history for the last 7 years, but they probably just forgot.
That's right. Yeah, they look good. Let's move on. Now, feminine energy, it might get bogged down in the details. It may not be very fast in processing those applications. It may not get many done per day, but I promise you're not going to get anyone. There won't be anything that's overlooked if you assign a dominant feminine energy individual to that task. So having an awareness of these things can be really powerful. And if you're trying to grow your real estate portfolio, maybe your dominant feminine energy person might do underwriting, and that's going to make you really successful at not missing anything in that underwriting process. But it also might mean you don't buy anything. You might get stuck in analysis paralysis really easily, whereas that dominant masculine energy person, well, I'll just say Elaine is kind of the chief risk officer of our organization, always has been, because if it wasn't for her, I probably would have bought every deal that ever hit my radar and would have bankrupted us several times over. And this is, again, how masculine and feminine energy are so beautifully complementary. This is one of the most important slides in the whole time we share together here. Masculine and feminine energy, they have different opposing ways of solving problems. They're both good ways to solve problems, and you just have to understand when is the appropriate time to use that problem solving algorithm.
Absolutely. Jenny said about the applications, because I would want to narrow down by objective data. So interestingly, we have a very detailed checklist. It's basically if then. So if the credit score is this, then this happens. If this is on the criminal background, then this happens. And there are folks on our team who have much more of a holistic awareness, and they just sort of look through applications, and I'm sure they're like scoring them in their head. They're doing some sort of algorithm in their head, but it's very quick. And then we have other members of our team who are more laser focused, and they go through that checklist, and it takes them much longer to do it, but they almost always come up with the same conclusion, which is good, right? That means we have good screening criteria, but it's a way that we can serve both folks on our team by training them in different ways to get the same outcome, because application processing it's such a huge part of property management. It takes into consideration fair housing law and all the, it's the number one risk for property managers, and you want to do it quickly so that you can serve people quickly. And so it's very interesting the way we've kind of met that need for people is we train people on holistic awareness, and then we also train people on the checklist, and people gravitate to one or the other.
Two more ways here. One more way that masculine and feminine energy differ. So masculine energy really loves explicit communication. So the sky is blue. That means that the sky is blue. That's all it means. And feminine energy really loves contextual communication. So let's say hypothetically, we're driving down the road here, and I'm driving the car. I don't know if you noticed that, but masculine energy, they're always the ones driving the car, because we're going to get to our destination. That's what we want. We want to be in the driver's seat. And Elaine asks me the question, hey, do you need to pee? Do you need to go to the bathroom? What is Elaine asking me in this moment? We're driving down the road, and she asks if I need to pee. What is Elaine asking me in this moment? Anyone want to chime into chat here? Because I can tell you, as a dominant masculine energy person, I'm going to take that to its explicit meaning, and I'm going to say, no, babe, I'm good. We drive a few more miles down the road, and she goes, hey, babe, do you need to pee? And I'm like, no, I just said no.
So Jimmy says a couple people have chimed in. Do you need a break? That would be a very gentle way that feminine energy would likely ask for, like, hey, it seems like he's kind of falling asleep, or, kind of veering on the road a little bit, but I don't necessarily want to say that. So how can I get about this from a contextual way? Other people say, she needs to go to the bathroom. She wants to take a break. Absolutely.
We might drive a few more miles down the road yet, and she asked me for a third time, you need to go pee. I'm like, I don't know what the deal is here. I'm gonna crank up my podcast. Eventually she's shouting at me, Nick, do you need to pee? And I'm like, gosh, I guess I can pee in a cup or a bottle or something while I'm driving. I don't know why this is such a big deal to you that I need to pee, because I'm driving off of her explicit communication. And I promise you, you've had some hilarious mix up in communication like this, where in retrospect, well, of course, it's obvious what she was getting at, but if only she had just said it. If we just understand that these are both beautiful ways to communicate. So sometimes we communicate with bankers. These tend to be people who speak volumes in what they don't say or use subtext. It's a very sophisticated style of communication. it's a very feminine style of communication. It's all about context. Like a banker may not be able to reveal to me that a particular asset is not an asset that we want to buy because they have, they can't disclose things that they know for whatever reason. And I might ask them about buying it. And they might say something like, Nick, it's really funny you reach out to me about that. A lot of people have reached out to me about that, but for some reason, it's just never gone anywhere. Like, what the heck did they just say? Like, they didn't even answer my question.
It's so interesting watching you like have lunch with our bankers. Most of our bankers are men. And you guys will kind of sit down and you'll kind of check in on each other. How are the kids? Good. How's life? Good. Making it to the gym. Yep. Golfing. Yep. Weather's good. Yep. Open the pool yet. Yep. Go traveling anywhere. Yep. And then you'll start to do business. And all of a sudden the sentences are very long. And lots of like looking around and looking into each other's eyes. And it's true because you flip into feminine communication because of the professionalism that's required when, exactly like you said, like bankers often know a whole lot about stuff, but for legal and ethical reasons, they're not necessarily able to disclose it. So they have to disclose things or guide you toward a certain direction. And that's an example of how you flip between masculine and feminine energy with what most suits your energy and what most suits the problem that you're trying to solve at that given time.
That's right. Let's say you're trying to get your spouse to invest in real estate. If you said, baby, I would like you to invest in real estate, please. like you're probably not going to get what you want. Like we all make the mistake of assuming that the recipient of our communication wants to be communicated with in the same way that we want to be communicated with. And it prevents us from getting what we want most. So knowing that my partner is dominant feminine energy and I really want to invest in real estate, I might go to her and say, babe, would you like to invest in real estate? Is that something you'd like to do? What do you like to do?
Why are you asking? What are the benefits of it? What is this thing?
Look at that
real estate investing.
Look at that. Now we're already talking about the benefits, not to me, to her. We're not even talking about, I bet we could go on more vacations. We could get more points.
Tell me how this works.
We're gonna have to do a lot of renovations on company credit cards. We're gonna rack up a ton of points here. I know you like point. We're not even talking about real estate, right? Like the context is everything. The explicit subject matter disappeared 3 seconds into this conversation. And if I lean into this, I'm going to get everything that I want, and my wife's going to be happy along the way because I've communicated in the way that feminine energy likes to be communicated with.
The next one, very similar to that, is sensing and thinking. Feminine energy tends to have more sensing. I think you're kind of sensing a pattern here. Sensing holistic awareness, making problems bigger, contextual communication. Masculine energy tends to do more thinking. So focusing on the destination, making problems smaller, having explicit communication. You're seeing a pattern here in the differences between masculine and feminine communication.
So this is a fun little meme here. Mom's still seething over a car that blew through stop sign 15 years ago. Feminine energy likes to hang on and likes to remember, and masculine energy likes to let go or forget. And this is another time when sometimes I think that masculine and feminine energy partners can call each other crazy. But Elaine was talking about a Meadow report a little while ago, and feminine energy survived for millennia by remembering I have to pick this particular berry in this particular spot at this particular time of year. And if I don't do that, instead of feeding my family, I might die. And masculine energy succeeds by going out and being laser focused on the game that it needs to successfully hunt and kill, and forgetting all this noise back here. My prey, my objective is the only thing that matters. And as long as you keep this in mind when you're communicating with your partner, you can never tell feminine energy to let it go. That's not allowed, and that's a common error that I see a lot of masculine partners making in their communication. So this is a fun one. Feminine energy is always trying to fill up, and masculine energy is always trying to empty. Some of y'all might recognize this property. This is the Riverview Apartments, and we purchased this. It needed a huge trash out, like an insanely massive trash out when we bought it. It was suffering with pests, and it was being operated as a short-term rental. So every single unit was fully furnished when we bought it. We need to get rid of all these furnishings. And I said, okay, let's well, back in the day, I used to like literally start things on fire. I'd have a bonfire, but Elaine is not a big fan of that. And as we've scaled, that's not a super scalable strategy. So Now I say, let's get the trash out people out here and let's throw it all in the dump right away. Let's go. I'm laser focused on getting to the end of our renovation so we can, rent it out and start generating revenue. And Elaine says, hold up. What can we do to keep this stuff out of the landfill?
And I'm always asking that every single day.
To me, that feels crazy, right? I think it's insane to want to hang on to this stuff, but being self-aware, knowing that Elaine's pretty smart. And usually if she says something, there's a good reason why. And if I use her sensing, her feminine power to my advantage, I usually get a better outcome because first of all, I'm listening to her and respecting her. And because she has, very deep insight into areas where I have blinders on. So I say, okay, how could we keep all this garbage out of a landfill?
Garbage.
So we talked to a bunch of people. We talked to a few friends, and they are junk haulers and they run consignment stores. And we talked to one person who refurbishes appliances. So someone ended up paying us like $15 per appliance or something like that, and hauled every single appliance out of the place. Saved us $10,000 in trash haul off expenses just for the appliances alone. And another person picked up much of the personal property. And at the end of the day, we only spent, I don't know, probably less than $10,000 total on haul off for this project, which is a fraction of what I thought we ultimately would have spent, because I just leaned into my feminine partner's desire to fill up, and instead of leaning into my masculine desire to empty. And there's nothing wrong with either approach. It's like making problems bigger, making problems smaller. It's all about finding the right problem solving algorithm at the right time. And this is exactly what we did in this case.
Feminine energy is stimulated by love and connection. Things like, wouldn't you love to build a tribe? Let's hang out with friends. Let's do something together with a group of people. Let's check in with family. Masculine energy is stimulated by challenge and praise. Things like, go get that deal. You're so amazing. You did such a good job. Kind of go get them, tiger, that vibe. Very different motives for behavior, very different drivers of behavior. So for example, with like the planning and zoning thing tonight, I know that Nick is motivated by challenge and praise. So I used to ask a lot of questions of like, well, who's on the board and have you talked to them and are we friends? And when was the last time we saw them socially? And who do we know that they know? And, let's check them on Facebook, right? Because we live in a pretty small town. So like, let's see if they've had a grandchild or a wedding or anything that you can like talk to them about when we're there. Cause that's how I would handle that problem. And I know that is very distracting to Nick. I know now after years of doing this, it's very distracting to Nick. He needs to be focusing on kind of his way of solving this problem. And it's like, it's like giving like a vegan a burger, like it's just not what he wants. And so now I know that I can just relax and say, I know you've got it. And I know if planning and zoning says no, you'll figure out a way to either go back or do an amendment or talk to city council or whatever, like just go out and do it. Cause I know you can, right? Kind of that challenge piece, and then praise when it comes back. And you can see how we would solve the same problem two entirely different ways. So Nick has a plan, a mission, a destination, wants to rise to the challenge. And I would be thinking about, who do I know? How can I connect with them? How can I meet their needs? Two totally different ways of meeting the same goal.
That energizes me so much. In fact, if you were asking me all these questions, I might interpret that as criticism or a lack of confidence that I don't have the ability to solve the problem. I hope you can see how this is such a powerful energy source in your relationship. I wouldn't be surprised if you're in a similar situation in your real estate investing journey with your spouse somewhere. Like your masculine partner, they want to be set free, unleashed to go solve the problem, and know that they're going to be challenged to go solve the problem, and that they're going to be celebrated when they do successfully solve the problem. That's all they want to feed their soul. So this is a really interesting one. Feminine energy wants to be owned and masculine energy wants to conquer. These are, I'm going to say, loaded words to use in our kind of a modern society, but this is what we really want at the core of our being. I'll tell you a really beautiful story. I had the privilege to go visit Ecuador for a while, and it's not exactly a very safe place to be. And for some reason, when I was there, I never felt unsafe. And I was there for weeks. And wherever I went, I had a handler. There was a person with me, and then law enforcement would approach them and they'd have this brief but very intense conversation in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. And after seeing this play out over and over and over again, I finally asked, one of our guides, what does this mean? Like, what's this conversation that you keep having? And I'm gonna play this out here. So I'm gonna be the law enforcement officer,
And I'm the guide.
and you're the guide.
Okay.
And here is the conversation that would play out. Elaine, my name is Nick. I have seen you with these people over here. You own them, and I own you. If something were to happen to them, I will find you. Do you understand?
I do. I'll take care of them.
Thank you. And that's it. And that is how a bunch of idiot Americans stumbling through the Amazon rainforest and the Galapagos Islands were kept safe for weeks at a time. I hope the hair on the back of your neck stands up a little bit when you hear that story. That is pure masculine, feminine power right there. Like, in that moment, as an idiot tourist, if I was trying to be dominant masculine energy, that's just about the stupidest thing I could possibly do, right? I could revolt against that and say, you don't own me, no one owns me, I'm an American, gosh darn it. Instead, I really lived in my feminine power and said, wow, the whole time I've been in this country, someone has owned me. Someone has been accountable for me. Someone has put their livelihood, probably their life on the line for me. And someone has held them accountable to that. And that's how I have stayed safe in this unsafe world, this foreign world that I live in. That's all I need to know. That's all anyone needs to know in order to feel safe, is that there is someone out there that's fighting for them, that's willing to sacrifice everything for them. And as human beings, we all have that need deep within us. But if you're a dominant feminine energy person, you have that need in a much stronger way. And if you're a dominant masculine energy person, you have a need deep within you to find something worth dying for. So Martin Luther King Jr. has this beautiful quote: "A man who has not found something worth dying for is not fit to live." This is something that speaks deep to the core of my soul. And there are a lot of things in this planet that I want, but there's very few things that I would personally die for. I'd not die for myself, that's for sure. I'd die for my family in a heartbeat, for my wife, for my children. And that's all my wife needs to feel in order to feel safe. That's all my children need to feel in order to feel safe. If you've got kiddos, you know that all too well. Your children are intensely curious about that question. Your children will ask you kind of uncomfortable questions like, Daddy, what would you do if a monster came through the front door? That's a question your children ask you over and over and over again. And you have to have a righteous answer to that question, or they will never feel safe and whole in their soul. So feminine energy needs to feel owned, and masculine energy needs to feel like it can conquer, like it can overcome those dangers, and ultimately that it has something that's worth dying for. And this has a direct relevance to your intimate relationship. It has a direct relevance to your real estate investment journey, because it's a scary journey to embark upon. And if you're a dominant masculine energy person trying to get your feminine energy partner on board, that's all they need to feel. That's all they need to feel. All right.
Good.
That's all I've got there.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Love it. You want to speak to feminine energy, since I did a little bit in the
I feel
beginning?
like I've been doing a lot of talking here tonight.
Doing a lot of talking.
Your needs are my needs. Elaine said early tonight, for feminine energy, I feel a little, being just very vulnerable with you, I feel a little nervous sometimes talking on this. So I am a wealthy white male in a wealthy white male dominated culture. And I feel very vulnerable speaking to these things, right? Like I feel like I could get in trouble speaking to these things. Those are feelings that I feel. And so it feels a little ludicrous for me to say, I know there's a lot of dominant feminine energy people who feel like they are surrendering their power by leaning into their feminine energy. And I can tell you that, have you ever worked with a dominant feminine energy salesperson? They completely run the table with a dominant masculine energy salesperson. They're rarer because there's a false perception that masculine energy somehow is better at sales. Feminine energy loves to connect. Female realtors outnumber male realtors 2-1. They dominate that particular sales industry, and that's because feminine power is an unstoppable force when it comes to connecting with people, to gathering, to doing these things that feminine energy excels at. And as we said, kind of at the top of the show here, true power is in balance. It's in androgyny. It's in knowing when to bring the feminine energy to connect with someone, and when to bring the masculine energy to bring the close, right? And if you just try to skip straight to the close, like, you're not going to be very successful. And if you don't ever close, you're probably not going to be successful. True power is found in androgyny. And I'm a dominant masculine energy person, but I hope you can sense I'm bringing a ton of feminine energy tonight. In fact, just being vulnerable with you just now, that's pure feminine energy. That's just me exposing my vulnerability to you, hoping that you'll connect with me, hoping that you'll understand me. And ultimately, that's the thing that's going to keep me safe in the tribe, right? Masculine energy survives with the power of its fists and nothing else. But feminine energy survives by feeling connected and loved and accepted by the tribe. And that's what I was leading with was feminine power. There's a time for each. So femininity is a huge power, especially in modern Western culture that tends to look down its nose a little bit on feminine energy and to no benefit whatsoever. It's just a false and useless perspective. That's a common perspective in our culture.
Very good. I think we addressed that pretty well between the two of us.
Very good.
All right, let's talk about some never evers. So these are things that really shut down either form of energy. That this is where energies kind of collide with each other, where polarity goes down. These are things that when these patterns start to emerge, that's when couples can feel sort of stagnated, or like they don't understand each other, or kind of like the honeymoon has worn off. And it's because polarity has gone down because they've done things that violate their energies. So masculine energy thrives in competition. It is shut down by sympathy. So it would be a never ever to approach masculine energy with sympathy. There could be a time to approach a male person with sympathy about a thing, but not necessarily while he's in the middle of that competition or while he's in the thick of that battle, because he wants to be challenged and praised and would be very shut down by sympathy. Feminine energy thrives in cooperation and can be shut down by challenge. So for example, if in that, say like that city council thing, if I'm thinking about, well, who do I know and how can I connect with them? And what do I know about what's going on in their life? And how can I meet their needs? If Nick would say something to me like, just go get them to approve your paperwork, that would be a horrible thing to say.
I'm issuing her a challenge, which would crush her feminine energy.
Yeah, because it would make me wonder, like, does he not think they like me? Does he not think that I'm part of their group? Does he think that I'm an outsider? Like, why doesn't he, think that I know about what's going on in their lives or want to connect with them? So, instead he might say something like, well, I know that, so-and-so approved this other thing. So maybe you could bring that up. Or I know that,
you might even skip straight to an affirmation of like, Elaine, you are the most beautiful, likable person I've ever met in my life. Everyone is drawn to you. And those planning and zoning people are crazy that they wouldn't want to take your proposal. So I'm affirming both her self-esteem and her feminine power. And that's going to amp up her feminine power, remind her of her feminine power, that will activate her. Again, this is the most powerful energy source you could possibly tap into. And in that state, she'd say, you're damn right. Everybody is drawn to me. They are crazy. I could talk to this person, this person, this person, and they would all say yes. And they would go talk to those people and get them to say yes. And that is feminine power absolutely crushing a problem. Masculine energy might spin its wheels if I said, babe, just go get it done. Like you can't come at planning and zoning. You can't come at a political process with masculine energy. Like it's a feminine energy activity.
American government is very feminine.
That's right. So you have to energize your partner in the way that they need and in the way that's going to accomplish the mission.
Another two are, you can never tell feminine energy to let it go. So this is kind of going back to feminine energy holds on, feminine energy remembers. So I'm sure we've all been in a situation in a relationship where, someone's late to something and the feminine energy partner remembers the last 38 times that someone is late. And as a feminine energy partner, my brain is saying like, well, of course, that's all very important information, because if someone's late one time, that's very different than if it's the 39th time. And why are they late? Is there a pattern? And so it's even, it's hard. I'm chuckling at myself, whereas masculine energy is like, well, this time it was because of snow. It's totally different. It's totally unrelated to everything else. And that it can be a time that couples really argue with each other, because this is when people say things like you're crazy, or I can't communicate with you, or you never give me a break. There's all sorts of ways that there's breakdowns in communication there. And then you cannot coach masculine energy. This is a big one. I think it's probably like a again, we've learned a lot of this from Tony Robbins, and he spends hours talking
Mhm.
about this topic alone, because it doesn't mean that, people who are masculine energy dominant can just like walk around society, never being given direction or education or, guided on a path. But in the moment, coaching is often not helpful, because it evokes sympathy. It evokes like, do they think I don't know how to do it? Do they think I can't conquer it? So if, before say that city council meeting, if I was approaching Nick with like, well, you should do this and then that, if this happens, do this, that will probably lead to a lack of confidence.
Yep.
And kind of a stumbling in the meeting, and a wondering of, could I not figure it out myself, or does she not believe in me, or maybe I shouldn't believe in myself. So it's stimulated by challenge and praise. And then I find that outside of those moments, right? So if I had a plan around like city zoning and planning, I might bring it up weeks unrelated. And I might bring it up in the sense of like, well, if I was going to do it, this might be how I would do it. Oh, you have a completely different approach. Tell me about that.
This is going to sound bananas, but if she said, I'll tell you what, let's have a competition about who can get that approval first, that might light me up more than if she tries to tell me how to do a better job of it. In fact, competition is how masculine energy learns. Have you ever noticed that when men are competing, they're not kibitzing, they're not telling each other how to get better, but they're constantly evolving through competition. The root of the word competition means to conspire together. You create a set of rules that you play by, and by competing with one another under those rules, you improve. And as crazy as it sounds, that would probably spark better outcomes by her competing with me. Now, to a feminine listener, they would think that's insane, because feminine power is shut down by challenge, by competition. But just understand the kind of stimulus that your partner needs in order to be energized, and you will be shocked by the outcome.
Let's talk about the 3 C's, and then next we'll do the 3 U's. So most of what we've talked about tonight is definitions, holistic awareness, ways of thinking about the world, ways of thinking about yourself and the other people in your life, patterns of behavior. The next 2 slides are very much action oriented. And we have found in our own relationship, and time again, these next 2 slides are very simple. Some of what we've talked about before, you kind of have to think about different examples, or I behaved this way in this situation, but I behaved this other way in this other situation. There's a lot of context that can go into the other slides. These 2 are easy to understand, very easy to act on, and life changing. So think about what your predominant energy is, what energy you want to live in that feels most natural to you. And then the other partner that you're in a relationship with, what their energy is, and then focus on the behaviors that you might consider changing, so that you can elevate their energy instead of crushing their energy. And as that energy is elevated, then there will be more polarity. So the 3 C's that crush masculine energy are feeling criticized. And this is a very normal thing for feminine energy to do, because it's how feminine energy understands the world, understands social systems and hierarchies, and who can be trusted, and who shows up when they say they're going to, and what patterns are in behavior. But it crushes masculine energy when there's criticism. So a way to come to do opposite of that is to admire and appreciate. So kind of going back, like we're taught in management, like a compliment sandwich, like even just take out the middle part of it. Just focus on the behaviors that you like, that you enjoy, that you want to see more of, and focus exclusively on those. So if it's something like maybe you're very interested in real estate investing and your masculine energy partner is not, saying something like, you're never interested in this, or my friends' husbands are interested in this. That's criticism that will shut that person down and make them less interested in the behavior that you want, versus admiring and appreciating them. You're so analytical at work. You're such a good engineer. You're such a good doctor. You're such a good teacher. I know you have these great skills you could apply to this. What do you think about that? Would you like to try that? I'd love to see you thrive in this new environment, because I know you have so much that you could bring. You see how it's just a different way of saying kind of the same thing. Like maybe you have some friends whose husbands are doing real estate investing and that's what you want, but saying that might be hurtful, versus bringing out a positive characteristic about your masculine energy partner and then saying like, let's apply that awesome thing about you to this other new venture. So feeling criticized is a surefire way to cross
Masculine energy loves to help. I mean, you
Loves
might
to
be
help.
surprised. I am good at spreadsheets.
What spreadsheets do you have?
Right, yeah. Like you'll be shocked at how quickly that transformation will occur when you swap out criticism for praise.
The next one is feeling closed. So shutting down, stonewalling, kind of going off on your own, maybe trying to engage in communication and then it doesn't go anywhere. And so then putting up walls, you can, all of these things feel bad to both partners, but they particularly bring down masculine energy. And the solution to that is to be open and playful, to ask open-ended questions, to stay in curiosity, to maybe bring humor into those discussions, to just have fun with it, to nudge someone along instead of shutting off that communication. The thing that they'll say is maybe you're like reading something at bedtime and you start showing interest in it or laughing about it or like, hey, this is like really interesting to me. Can I tell you about it? Can I open myself up to you? I don't have an agenda. I don't have a goal. It's not to magically make you want to invest in real estate, but I enjoy it. And masculine energy loves to see feminine energy excited about something, playful about something, and that it's likely to bring that person along that they'll think, well, she really enjoys that. I like seeing her talk about that because it brings out her energy. So I want to be open to that versus, I'm reading this book because you won't do real estate with me. So I have to go to a book. Right. And these things, they sound like, caricatures or stereotypes because we're trying to, speak to like the extremes of the communication, but it happens in all relationships. And it doesn't mean we're bad people. It just means we've fallen into some negative patterns. And I hope that by seeing some of these other ways of getting your needs met and of serving the needs of your partner, you're able to bring out more of that polarity.
We're gonna, get to the end of our slides here shortly. So I hope you're writing down the three U's and the three C's.
This is the most important part.
And if you have a tough situation you're working with, you're trying to get your spouse on board, like we're happy to do some Q&A and talk to that. Like these can be incredibly, incredibly simple things. You're a feminine energy partner trying to get your masculine energy partner on board. Like, hey babe, like I know you want to quit your job and start a hobby woodworking business. I'm open to that. I'm super open to that. If we invest in real estate, maybe we can get to financial freedom faster so you can do your hobby woodworking. That's so totally opposite from, listen, dummy, like you make money as an accountant. Why would you ever quit that to do woodworking? Like that's criticizing them and you're being close to them at the same time. You've absolutely shut down their energy. Of course, they're never going to get on board with whatever you want to do.
I find that masculine energy partners, when they see these three words, criticize, closed, controlled, they feel a deep sense of feeling heard, feeling validated, and feeling a sense of like, could you do that for me? Could you help those things to not happen? And then when we get to the three U's for feminine energy, I think the same thing will happen. So the last one is feeling controlled. Masculine energy does not like to feel controlled. They want to focus on their destination. They want to get there as quickly as possible. They have an explicit plan to get there. They're not thinking about other things that are going on. They want to be praised. They want to have validation. And particularly in modern complex society where there's often two working adults, children in the home, there are a lot of details that need to be controlled. And feminine energy, because they tend to have more of a holistic awareness of things, they're the ones that are thinking about, well, what kid needs to get to this place and who has a doctor's appointment and we're going to see family this other weekend. And so it can give a sense of control to a masculine partner that can feel very shut down. I think that's why masculine partners feel very shut down, particularly in those early childhood years, because there's just so many pieces of data that need to be managed. And feminine energy tends to manage those pieces of data very well. And so it feels very controlling to the masculine energy partner. And the way to do that is to give freedom and love, to ask like, what's on your mind? What are your number one priorities? What are the things you want to do with your time? If we had if we were going to visit, say, our parents, like, what are the things you want to do? What are the things you don't want to do? And then kind of building the plan, with those things in mind.
So sometimes masculine energy, it doesn't even need to control the thing that's done. it just likes to be asked. Oh, well, thank you so much. You haven't even asked my opinion in a year. It feels like, we can do whatever when we're going to visit the folks, but thank you so much for asking.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's truly just making that masculine energy partner feel like they have the opportunity to be free. They don't necessarily need to go off into the woods for a month on a survival hunt or something like that. It's just being asked can be the simplest thing.
To bring this back to real estate investing, in our personal journey, as we were building our real estate portfolio of single family homes, we worked very closely together for the first probably 5 or 6 years. And as Nick said early on, it was much harder than today, where we have kind of an algorithm that we've honed together and we know each other's behaviors and patterns very, very well. But there was a point around 5 or 6 years where I was in the hospital all the time. We had probably 1 or 2 children at that point, and we no longer could make all of those decisions together because of time. And blessedly, instead of that very well could have been like a huge lull, like a multi-year lull in our investing. And instead, I basically gave you like a buy box, and we worked on that together.
Yep.
And we said, these are our investment criteria. And I said to Nick, keep in mind, these were huge decisions at that time. Like, 10% of our net worth, Nick was making decisions on, buying a new house or renovating a house or something like that. And basically I said, as long as it's in this buy box, like, I don't really need to know about it. And in fact, I don't want to know about it because I'm worried about all these other things.
That would burden your holistic awareness.
Yes, at the hospital and with my patients and the kids and all these other things. So as long as I know that you're in this box, you're free to do whatever you want. And that was a year I think we like tripled our portfolio that year.
That's a huge hack that Elaine just shared with you there. I hope you followed that.
You're like so excited about it, like 8 years later.
it was a big deal, and our portfolio grew exponentially as a result of that. Now, if Elaine wanted to just lean into feelings of insecurity and a lack of control, she could have just had a veto there and said set me free to go get an antelope or a bison, but not a tiger or a lion, right?
Yep, exactly.
And I could go out and I could hunt, and I felt so amazing, and I'd go work from 6 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon, and then go to the real estate thing from 2 until midnight. And I felt exhilarated. I had a hard time sleeping. I was so energized because I knew I felt unleashed to go do the thing I wanted to do.
All right, let's talk about the 3 U's.
So
then we have a little homework, and then we're wrapping up for the night.
Yeah. So a lot of these concepts for feminine energy are very related. The first is feeling unsafe. I would say this is the most important one right here. And if you're a strong masculine energy person on this call, I would say that masculine energy doesn't even realize that this is on feminine energy's radar, because we don't struggle with feelings of safety. It's just not something that's on our radar. Something as simple as walking out to the car at night. I know that's something that Elaine, because we wrap up very late and then we walk out to our car and we go home. And Elaine, I know she really appreciates it when I walk out first, and then I'll get in my car and she'll get in her car, and then I will wait until she drives off. I won't, because I drive fast. I like to just drive off and get home, and I wait literally for her to go to make sure that she is safe, and that makes her feel not safe in that moment. It makes her feel safe all the time, because she knows she has a caveman that's focused on her safety. She knows she has a caveman that will come when she calls and when she doesn't call, right? That's when safety matters the most, is when you don't have the ability to call for help. And so just taking a few little simple habits that I've built clumsily at first, and then with better skill as I've become more aware of these things, just little things that I can do to make sure that my spouse feels safe. And the solution is just to give your spouse constant attention all the time. And here's a place where contextual communication is not necessary. You can literally just ask your spouse, what would you like to feel safe? And they might say something like, you need to drive less than 75 miles per hour at all times, and you need to do like that. They will give you a list.
Go get your colonoscopies.
That's right. They will give you a list. Write that list down, go do it. And then all of a sudden they will feel so much safe, because they know they have a partner that's tuned into them, that's listening to them, is going to keep them safe when it matters most. Next is feeling unheard. So this is not a question of this is all about presence. So it's easy for your feminine energy partner to want to talk more than you do. That's a very normal dynamic, and you have to listen. I apologize that you can't just wait for your turn to talk or to walk away or be silent. Like you have to listen to them very actively and engage with them and respond with them. But the place where I think masculine energy gets caught up is masculine energy thinks it is a clock hour test. I have to listen to my partner for 10 hours a day. It's not, it's a cadence test. It's a cadence test. So one thing you could do is you could set an alarm on your phone to just check in with your partner like once per hour throughout the whole day. And I promise they will light up. They will feel like you are so dialed into them and you won't even understand why, because you've only talked to them for 10 minutes that day instead of 5 minutes. But you proactively reached out just to see how they were feeling. Make sure you don't ask them what they're thinking, ask them what they're feeling, because feminine energy is feeling, it's sensing, it's not thinking, it's not analytical. And just give your partner real presence, just in small increments throughout the day. That's all you need. And finally,
Can I tell a little story about Tyler?
please.
So I want to tell a story about our construction manager, Tyler. So we wanted to bring maintenance in-house for our property management company for probably like 2 years. And just really sort of beat our heads against the wall, because managing folks who do maintenance is very different than managing folks who tend to do office work. And we just kind of stumbled over it.
Kept
And-
hiring masculine energy people to do it because those are maintenance people, right?
Yep. So we hired Tyler, who was the manager of a local family-owned coffee chain and had opened many coffee shops for this family. And so we felt like he would be a great addition to helping us, continue to build our startup. And although he manages a group of typically very masculine folks, and he needs to bring masculine energy to folks when he's, meeting their needs for their maintenance ticket, people want explicit, direct communication when they're saying, my water heater's out. They just want to know that they will have water in 8 hours or 24 hours.
I know how it feels to know that there's not hot water. I'm so sorry. That's not what you want. You want it's gonna be
They need
fixed.
like 2% of that, and then 98% like someone is coming right now. Right. But in the office with his team and with Nick and I and other people on the team, he's incredibly feminine and he repeats back what you say. So you're gonna like role play real quick. I can be Tyler, you can be me.
Oh yeah, you get the easy job. All right.
Go for
So,
it.
hey Tyler, where are we at on the new boiler for Raymond?
On the new boiler for Raymond?
Yeah, we, it's not working very well. We need to repair it.
Yeah, we need to repair it.
We've done some bids.
Yeah, we have the bids.
And I'm not sure which direction we really want to go on that.
Yeah, which direction we should go
Do we
in.
want to do that in-house, or do we want to vend that out?
Vend it out or in-house.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Tyler?
What do you think about it?
I guess I feel like we should probably do it in-house if we can.
Okay. I looked at all this stuff and I also think we should do in-house.
Oh, you're so smart. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Yep.
Really appreciate it.
Yep. So that is literally what a conversation. Rachel's laughing because she worked with Tyler at the coffee shop too, that we recruited both of them over here. But he's very feminine with many people in our company. And I think that's probably his natural energy.
Yep.
And yet he can bring to bear masculine energy in a second when it's needed. And I just feel so heard when I'm with him. I know that he will remember our conversations, that he's taking action on it, that he has thought it through, literally because he just is just present. He's just listening. I mean, he's repeating back to me what I'm saying. So I know he's not distracted or thinking about something else. Clearly, I love his presence.
We need to send him a little shout out recording this. And finally, the last U is of feminine energy. The thing that crushes feminine energy is to feel not understood. And you just have to give feminine energy constant reassurance. So this is going to sound kind of crazy, but Elaine will frequently ask me questions like, Nick, do you think we're going to be together for the rest of our life? And the me of 5 years ago who didn't know the principles of polarity very well would say things like, that's so crazy. Why are you asking that question? What an idiotic thing for me to say. Today, being an enlightened masculine energy person, I say, baby, we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. And then our consciousness is going to get uploaded into the AI cloud. And then we're going to be together for eternity after that. And in this moment, Elaine, that's all she wants is reassurance. Like, it's a facetious question to ask, are we going to be together forever? Like, of course we are. Now, eventually, one of us will die or whatever. She's just seeking reassurance. That's all she is. It's no different than feeling sense of insecurity, of physical insafety, and just saying, are you going to come when I call? It's just a different way of asking the exact same question. And you just need to give feminine energy that reassurance. That's all you need to do.
Hopefully that was enlightening for you. Again, I find,
Jot these down. They're
yeah,
huge.
they're simple.
Huge.
If you are that energy, you identify with either the C's or the U's, and you feel like, man, if someone did this for me, I would feel so open. I would feel so, just such a affinity toward them. And it's such an easy gift you can give your partner by following the C's and the U's. Let's talk a little bit about homework as we wrap up here.
Some spicy homework. So, practice this with care in the context of a loving relationship. But this
You
this
want me to
could
do the
be,
feminine homework?
please.
Okay. So feminine homework, ask your partner what financial freedom looks like to them and where they want to take you. So you're focusing on freedom, you're focusing on challenge, you're focusing on destination. So those are likely to be things that if you are naturally a feminine person and you are in a relationship with a person who is naturally masculine, this will ignite them. This will get them very excited. Maybe real estate hasn't been very exciting to them. They don't quite understand it, or they've heard a horror story, but they get freedom and they get a destination and they get bringing you along on the destination. That's something that masculine energy loves to do, is bring along people with them on the destination. Set a reminder to praise and challenge your partner daily. Masculine energy loves this. I mean, humans love this in general. People love to be told what they're good at, but masculine energy loves challenge as well. So something like, like, look at 3 pro formas and tell me what you think of them, or drive by that house and let me know what you think of it, or look on Zillow and find the best deal. Like, giving them a task that they can come back to you with an outcome. That's been going on since time immemorial between masculine and feminine energies, and it's a way for masculine energy to serve feminine energy and then praise them throughout the process. Thank you for doing this. It's exciting to see you light up. It's exciting to see you think about these things this way. You're providing me with reassurance that we're headed toward that financial freedom. Unleash your partner to conquer the world every morning and celebrate their victory every night. It's really very simple. With Nick and I, we both just ask each other, like, what's the number one thing on your mind? And I just tell Nick, like, I'm confident you're going to get that done. I'm confident that you'll be able to do that, and then celebrating that. Whereas when Nick asks me, like, what's the number one thing on my mind? His next question is almost always, do you need any help with that? Or can I support you in that? Or what resources do you need? That would be very counterintuitive to masculine energy, because masculine energy wants to get to the destination as quickly as possible. Feminine energy wants to get to the destination with their tribe along the way. And so it's just different ways of kind of having our morning conversation with each other. Block a time to give your partner space and set them free. All partners need this in modern society. But I find that masculine energy, even a small amount of time, a brief afternoon, where there's no expectations, just setting them free to, do their thing, they often do something that serves feminine energy. It's a natural drive. Like, Nick spent the Sunday afternoon
I had like 4 hours free.
And he did landscaping.
Yeah.
Because he knows it's something that I love to look at. It's right outside of our bedroom.
You said the day before, man, I would love it if there was all this beautiful landscaping.
All these like wildflowers.
And that was the thing that I just felt compelled to do with my 4 free hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would have been devastated if you came home and you like didn't notice, or you were like, meh. That would have been devastating to me because I'm stimulated by praise, right?
Absolutely. Be completely open to your partner. Ask them what excites them. Ask them what interests them. Ask them what, when they think about real estate investing, what do they think about it? How, what ideas do they have? What stories have they heard? Be open to understanding them, open to listening to them. And a place where they can have and set free that masculine energy. And then ask your partner what their greatest fantasies are. Obviously, there's a major, sexual connotation there. But if we take that in the context of real estate investing or a financial freedom, numbers aren't very exciting for a lot of people. Or if they are, they're like big ag strap numbers, like 1 million, 10 million, like those numbers kind of evoke emotions. But they evoke emotions because they bring up a fantasy of, well, at that number, we could do this, or we could have this house, or I could provide for my family this way, or I could, help my parents with their retirement, or whatever it is. So ask your partner, what are your greatest fantasies in life? What are the things that, if you had no constraints, are the things you would want to do that leans into their freedom? It leans into challenge. You can praise them along the way of, I bet you could do that. I feel confident that I've seen you succeed in these other things in life. I bet you could also open that woodworking shop if that's what you wanted, or, start that business or do this real estate investment, and then leaning into that fantasy and encouraging them along the way.
Mhm.
That's the homework for feminine energy. I would say we do this,
Mhm.
and again, like, we are not perfect. We've just been working on this intently for probably 5 years now. And we do almost all of these things almost every single day. And now they're just very normal, right? They're just like, we get to the gym every day, we do these things every day. And the connection we have in our marriage, like, before we do these concepts, I would say I probably rated our marriage like an 8 or a 9. I thought it was really good. I was kind of like, I don't know, you need to like learn these things. Like, things are pretty good for us. But I thought the scale was a 10. It turns out the scale is actually 100.
Mhm.
And we had just so much room to go. And as we've implemented these things, we've gotten so much closer.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Masculine homework.
Some masculine homework for masculine people on the call here. Feminine homework was to ask your partner what financial freedom looked like. So if you're a masculine partner, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I see masculine partners make in the financial freedom journey, is they want freedom for their partner as well. Remember, feminine energy doesn't want freedom. It wants to feel safe. It wants to feel owned. It wants to feel protected and cared for. Ask your partner, what does financial security look like for you? So like Jamie, I know you had talked about how you're a strong masculine energy person and your partner's strong feminine energy person. Like, just ask your partner, what does financial security look like to you? Because your partner may not care that much about financial freedom. Set a reminder to check in with your partner on a constant cadence, like hourly. Like, it sounds crazy if you're masculine energy. No. I checked in with them 2 days ago. They're still fine. I fall prey to this all the time because Elaine is like, Nick, where's the baby? And I'm like, the baby's fine. I saw him 2 hours ago. They're over by the grill. They had the scissors, and I saw them. I mean, very recently, like 2 hours ago. So they're fine. You got to check in with your partner constantly and make sure they feel that you are just fully present with them in that moment. It's not a clock hour test. You don't have to listen to them for several hours, but you have to check in with them on a constant cadence. Ask them for a meta report. So that's how do you feel about that? And I want to hear every detail, every texture of that story. Feminine energy likes to tell long, detailed stories. Mirror them as Tyler, my wife standing in for Tyler demonstrated there. And it's not very complicated, and it actually doesn't take that much time, and it will completely change their life. Make sure your partner knows that you will always come when they call. So this is something you can explicitly communicate, but this is something that will demand a little bit of contextual communication. Your partner is going to be checking in with you often, and know that when they do that, when Elaine asked me, Nick, are we always going to be together? Elaine is asking me with contextual communication, not explicit communication. Will you come when I call? Or do I need to find someone else who will? This is the emotional struggle that feminine energy has to constantly be weighing. Is I've attracted a great caveman here, but am I going to keep him? Because this is how I survive, is with this connection right here. So you need to lean into your partner and make sure they know that you will always come when they call. And this is going to sound a little extreme, but make sure your partner knows that you will die for them, and be very intense about this. I mean, if you want to be really intense about it, tell them while you're being intimate. This is what they need to hear. This is what they need to know, and they can't hear it too much, because this is how they survive, is to know that there is someone out there who would die for them with a smile on their face. That all feminine power wants is masculine energy whose purpose is them. Martin Luther King Jr. said that a man who's not found something worth dying for is not fit to live. Well, what if that something was your wife? That's all feminine energy wants right there. That's something that might bring tears to your wife's eyes when that's something they really feel in the heart of their soul.
I remember one time we were talking with a couple a lot older than us, about 20 years older than us, and we had a much closer relationship with the male partner, and he was always talking about his wife and how much he loved her, and their children were in their like early 20s, and how much he loved their children, and how he just wanted to work so hard for them and provide for them. And she was very uncertain about, they'd already done some real estate investing, but he wanted to get a lot bigger. And she was very uncertain about scale, because she was very focused on security, and worried about how debt and other things might jeopardize that security. And we had a Zoom call with them, and I just felt so compelled to say to her, like, every time I talk to him, he tells me how much he loves you and how he would die to make you happy. He would die to provide for you. He just loves providing for the young kids and putting them through college and all of those things. And that was just such a game changer for her. I remember, months later when she said, that was when I was able to get out of kind of my logical mind or my worried mind about debt and scale, and really know that if he had an idea that he was really committed to, and he felt like it was going to provide for us, he loves me so much and he would die for me, he's not going to take us into financial ruin. And it like, I could have like sat down and done spreadsheets with her and, asked her things like, do you know how to calculate cash on cash? And do you know how leverage is the most powerful part about real estate? But she knew all of those things. She was a very smart woman. They had been real estate investors for many years. He just wanted to scale more. And instead, I just focused on how much he loved her, because he truly did. That was truly like one of the number one things he talked about every time we were together. And I just had this deep sense that if he felt like scale was a good idea, he would not think that that was a good idea if it would harm his wife or his relationship in any way. And that really set everything free for her. And then they went on this magnificent journey that we're able to see today.
Finally, ask your partner if they feel unsafe and how you can make them feel safe. And again, this can be an explicit communication thing. I don't want to hit a little too close to home, but last weekend I got into a fender bender in my car, and the whole family was in there. Everyone was okay. One of our babies slept through the collision. So it was not a major accident or anything. And then as we were driving back to the office to get ready for the community hour, I missed a turn. And Elaine said, Nick, I don't know if I'm just sensitive to this or if your behavior really has changed, but I feel like you're like making errors and driving all the time. Now, she's criticizing me, and that hurts my masculine energy, right? And it'd be easy for me to say, oh no, I'm the most amazing driver on earth. And what I have to do is I have to step back and I have to think, whoa. So that's the, one of the 3 C's for masculine energy. They're feeling criticized, but I have made my partner feel unsafe. And that's one of the 3 U's for feminine energy. What can I do to make sure that my wife feels safe when I'm driving?
I don't want to say that I tried so hard. I said, maybe I'm just more sensitive to it right now.
You did.
Because I knew that if I came at you with like, Nick, you're driving crazy, like that wouldn't get either of us anywhere. You would be upset. I wouldn't actually get my needs met. So I couched it in, maybe it's me, but right now I do feel unsafe. And I have felt unsafe the last several days, probably because of a little fender bender. Like, it's unlikely your driving has changed miraculously in the last, 72 hours, but my attunement to it has.
But she's told me how she feels, right? It doesn't even matter what the facts of it. It doesn't matter if she's more attuned to it or if my driving sucks. It matters that I'm making her feel unsafe, and I need to make her feel safe. It's the most important thing that I do. And so all you need to do is just ask your partner, is there anything that makes you feel unsafe, and what can I do to make you feel safe? And if you make your feminine partner feel safe, you'll be free to do whatever you want. And that could be in the context of your intimate relationship. That can be, I don't know if you've noticed. Like the couple
we just shared about real estate investing.
Yes, in the real estate journey.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but all of the like 50 Shades of Grey stuff, it involves the dance of safety and control and freedom, right? So Polarity at its extreme revolves around these concepts. And if you're trying to get to the next step in your financial freedom journey, you're going to be able to achieve whatever you want in terms of investing in real estate as a masculine partner if your feminine partner feels safe. That's all you need to do, and everything else will
focus on the security piece of it. It was a big thing for me because health insurance is so expensive. It was a big thing for me that I kind of, unleashed Nick on this destination of get to a place where we can afford health insurance for our entire family, on the market, right? Because once neither of us were working, that was such a big expense for us. And that was the moment where after that, like, I felt like we had everything we needed. And then I was free to explore growing the business because we had that like critical security piece in place.
Absolutely.
That is everything for tonight. I hope you all got a lot out of it. Thank you so much for staying with us through the night. This is a tough topic. I think we did a lot throughout the night of, putting the asterisks on things and, inviting you to stay open to these concepts, to think about how they apply to your life, to your own energies, to the people in your life, and try adhering to the 3 C's and the 3 U's, try the homework. Join us in Rochester, September 15th, 16th, and 17th for our in-person event. You can use the discount code Power Hour for $250 off of your ticket. Rachel has put in chat the feedback in just a really quick Google form. It shouldn't take you more than 15 seconds. We'd love to have your feedback. We're always trying to make Community Hour as best as we can. And otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everyone.